In this video, we are going to tell you what air cleaners are, how they work, and how they can be helpful in some classrooms. We are going to focus on air cleaners that use HEPA filters to clean the air. Air cleaners are devices that can be installed in classrooms and other rooms within a school to reduce exposure to particles, microorganisms, and other unwanted substances that may be in the air in a room. Air cleaners are usually portable devices, usually around a meter tall or less, and can simply be plugged in anywhere out of the way of your main classroom traffic.
When air cleaners are switched on and running, air is drawn from the room and passed through the device to remove pollutants from the air. Air cleaners are not the same as ventilation. They can improve the air quality in the classroom, but they are not a replacement for ventilation. It is important that there are still some fresh air provided through opening windows, doors, or mechanical ventilation at the same time as using an air cleaner.
Air cleaning devices most commonly use a fan to draw air through a very fine high-performance filter, sometimes known as HEPA filter units, which are capable of removing very tiny particles from the air that passes through the device. These particles may be from dust, traffic exhaust, pollen, or could be viruses or bacteria that can cause illness.
Some devices use other technologies like ultraviolet light, also called UV, which can reduce the risk from viruses and bacteria. In this series of videos, we will focus on devices with HEPA filters, as they have the strongest evidence to support their usage in schools. If you're interested in other technologies, be sure to check that there is good scientific evidence of their effectiveness in classrooms, and not just in more controlled laboratory settings. Some other technologies produce harmful byproducts, so also check that this is not a risk.
HEPA filter units are most likely to be useful when you are struggling to improve the ventilation of a classroom. This may be because there are factors such as outdoor pollution, noise, weather and security, which prevent windows from being opened as much as you'd like. Or it may just be that despite best efforts, there is insufficient ventilation for the number of people in the room. Using carbon dioxide monitors is a good way to identify classrooms where ventilation is inadequate and where HEPA filter units can be needed. There is more information on the ventilation and CO2 monitor section on the CoSchools website.
HEPA filter units can be useful for reducing the risk of infection spreading, especially respiratory infections such as COVID-19 and flu. They will not entirely eliminate the risk of infection, but they can reduce the risk through reducing the number of virus-carrying particles in the air. HEPA filter units may be most useful during autumn and winter, when there are a lot of bugs around and when the weather means that it's harder to open windows and keep classrooms warm.
HEPA filter units can also be useful for classrooms that are in areas of high urban pollution, because they can reduce exposure to particles in the air from traffic exhausts, wood burning, and industrial air pollution. HEPA filter units can also reduce exposure to pollen, and therefore may be helpful if children or staff in the classroom suffer from hay fever or other allergies, so they can be useful in spring and summer too.
There are many studies carried out in laboratories and real-world buildings, including schools, that show that HEPA filter units can reduce the exposure to both particles and microorganisms in the air. This includes data that shows that HEPA filter units reduced COVID-19 related absenteeism in a study involving UK schools. A survey carried out in the USA also suggested that schools that had introduced improvements to ventilation and added air cleaning had seen lower rates of COVID-19 infections.
The key takeaway of this video is that air cleaners can improve the air quality in a classroom by removing small particles, which might be pollutants or virus-carrying particles. However, they cannot replace adequate ventilation. In our next video, we will tell you about how to use a HEPA filter unit in a classroom.